All right, it's the recap for phase 3 of One and Done. Did another 10 sessions. Went well. If you need, if you're actually new to this, you don't know what One and Done is. One and Done is basically just an exercise that was created by Pat Mitchell, my coach and mentor when it comes to day trading. The premise of it is you just take one singular trade in a day. That's all you're allowed, and then you're done. So it's one of those things where if you're having trouble with like consistency, discipline, stuff like that, or maybe over trading, it kind of forces you to do it right, because that is the one and only shot you get per day. So you want to take the best trade / the first trade that triggers, because those two are usually the same thing, and then you deliver the result. And one of those aspects is understanding, if you're new to this or you're still in that kind of account building phase of things, that's exactly what you're doing. You're building your account. So those small incremental wins are truly what move the needle, and they really add up over time. So with that being said, just a quick little word on coaching. Like I said, I learned from Pat Mitchell. He runs a service called Trick Trades. You can find it at tricktrades.com. He is the best out there, hands down. Knows exactly what he's doing. Been doing this for over a decade now, and proves that day in, day out, live on screen share while we are preparing for and actually trading. His knowledge is second to none, and I don't know of anyone that could even compete with him. If you want kind of a sampling of his information, you can read over the website. You can also jump over to his YouTube channel, which has over 1,700 videos on it. Again, he's been at this for a long time. The information he puts out is extremely solid. There's just a lot of videos for you to sift through to really put all those pieces together, which is going to be extremely difficult. So I would recommend you learn from the man himself. And if you're interested in joining the service, it is an education service, not an alert service. Have realistic expectations on what that means. Check the description. You'll see a couple links there for discount on your first month of membership. Give it a shot. See if it's what you're looking for. It probably is, especially if you're new or struggling with this. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get into phase 3 recap. All right, so here it is. It's got the account chart going all the way back from the inception. This is our third round of One and Done. So the first phase was 30 rounds, so 30 trading days. Phase 2 was 10. Phase 3 is 10. Phase 4 will also be 10, with some stuff mixed in there. And as you can see, again, this kind of the sizing protocol. We started with 1 to 3 and have worked ourselves up through 3 to 5 contracts now. And then for each phase, again, we had 1 red trade out of the 30. For phase 2, we had 1 red trade out of the 10. And for phase 3, we had no red trades out of the 10 that we took. So far, out of the 48, or out of the 50 trades, 48 are green, 2 are red, which gives us a hit rate of 96%. And that is phenomenal. Like, truly phenomenal. So, just kind of going over that. As you can see, phase 1 kind of had, again, we had one loss, and it was a normal size loss. In phase 2, we had less than a normal size loss. And then in phase 3, none. And probably one of the most interesting things that, again, I've been looking out for is if you can see kind of the angle of this line and the angle of this line are kind of the same, but this one's starting to get a little steeper, which is what I've been looking for. So the delta is changing, which should happen as scale is being, as you scale up your position size, that's what should be happening. So it's one of those things where it's starting to take shape. It's one of those things where me getting size in, again, part of that is me, part of that is also conditions of the market. Can't always get size in because the market conditions don't allow you, and to be cautious and take risk into account. Sizing in all the time is not intelligent. So with that being said, I'm trying to think back on issues that we've identified. One is things that to be, like, I guess, worked on, kind of go right here. So one thing was, let's see here, an issue would be our entries, specifically the precision of our entries, kind of sucking. Not sucking, it's just one thing. It needs to be tuned. And it needs to be tuned by about half a second to a second. So again, there's that either slight hesitation, there's something there that again we need to work on. And again, it is literally probably like a half second tweak. So again, it's one of those things where you see it happening on the chart to, again, telling your brain to execute. And that's a tweak there. The other one was profit targets. Again, for the most part, in like phases 1 and phase 2, you're taking it on that first reaction. And then you're basically out of contracts. But now that we're starting to get a little bit more size in to where it's getting to the point where we need to pay into proper targets after first reaction, as long as there's some contracts left to do so. So those are two things to kind of squeeze, or again, utilize the maximum potential on trade plan, price action, things like that. So two things, again, that are really, really looking to clean up on my side in terms of the way I'm doing things, and that is all within me. Trying to think of some other things that might need to be worked on or encountered during this last phase, but I want to say those are predominantly the two main ones. Emotions, haven't gotten emotional in any of these trades thus far. I would say maybe one other thing would be, again, this is conditional because it's, again, what is the market like? What's going on? What's the price action like? Is, I would call it proper sizing. And it has more to do with, again, using more size that's available. And that's kind of starting to change. So it's a work in progress. But again, it is dependent on market conditions. Like I said before, you're not going to slam size in on a trade that the probability isn't as high, or there's extreme volatility or just weird conditions that just some screwy where, again, you want to err on the side of caution. And one of the ways you manage risk is through sizing. So that one's kind of conditional. So I guess I kind of say, put a star next to that one, be like, yes and no. So in terms of like anything else, honestly, I can't really think about it. Yeah, it's been, again, pretty consistent 10 days or 10 trading sessions. So I really can't think of anything that's really jumping out other than those things. In terms of things like I've been working on, or I guess things that have been helping me, kind of a more just reflection after the market on weekends is surrender to the process. And I would say that's something that's been an exercise, or kind of like, I also want to call it like a shower thought. This was something Pat said and has mentioned in some other places, that, again, kind of surrendering. Stop trying to fight. Like, don't fight him. Don't fight the markets. Don't fight yourself. We know the strategy. We know the plan, the trade plans. We know this entire process. We know the mechanics of it. So why do we continually fight it? And if you can get your mental state right to just do, it just rips all, I wouldn't say all, but a good chunk of noise out. And that's something I noticed. It was almost like a kind of an epiphany moment about a week ago. I was talking to my wife about this, and it was just weird. It's like I couldn't necessarily put it into words, but I could mentally feel it. It was just one of those things where the again, Pat says, or again, we'll talk about this kind of stuff, and it's one of the things that he does, like again, point out is we only have so much mental like energy or mental capital at any given time. So managing that energy, that mental capital is very important. So if you can rip as much out of the equation that's going to eat away at that energy, all the better. Especially if it has nothing to do with trading. So that's one thing. Again, it's kind of like a shower thought from him, or it was an idea and again discussion from him. But it was also again something I just been thinking about, like again in the evenings, on the weekends, and things like that. Another one is objectively viewing uh, um, in the third person. So when Pat was talking about this one, it's getting the concept here is to, and this is my interpretation of it, and hopefully this is right. Otherwise, I've been doing it wrong. Um, is viewing yourself in the third person, and the point of that is to this up a little bit, or not. Um, so basically, the point of this is to get outside yourself, get outside your own head, and objectively look at who you are, what you're doing. Are you doing things right? Are you doing things wrong? It's not to be hypercritical, but it's something where it's almost like if you don't have those biases, it helps strips out those biases to see like this is what you're doing right, this is what you're doing mediocre, and this is what you're doing wrong. And it's just one of those things where when you do it and you actually put in the time and the effort to do it, it can help. Again, you're trying to reinforce the right things, and not the wrong things, while again not trying to sweep them under the rug or anything. But again, if you need help identifying your issues, this would also help with that, because again, you can basically see what they are, and that level of reflection, if you're being honest with yourself, really goes a long way. So that's something I've been also practicing, and that's again been about in the same time period of surrendering yourself, and that's been over the course of phase 3. I would say a few sessions into phase 3 is kind of when this has all been going on. But it's interesting. It's interesting in just how that has impacted things and helped again get any emotion issues. Again, while there weren't really, I wouldn't even say I'm that emotional. It's just it's noticeable. Again, that's the mental side of things, the mental clarity side of things. So it's an interesting exercise, and I would actually recommend, if you have never done it, give it a shot. Again, also surrendering to the process. Like I said before, that can also be a good one, and stop fighting. Especially if you're part of the service, again, you know what to do. Especially been here a while, you're in some of those upper wheelhouses, and you're struggling or you're hitting these points, like pain points. It's one of those things where, when you haven't tried these, like try them. You'd be surprised at how much they make a difference. So again, just kind of some things that I implored during that time. So where do we go from here? So let's do it down here. Phase 4. So for phase 4, we're going to stick with our 10 trades. We are going to bump the size up And I'm actually going to bump this one up a little bit more than we have been. So we're actually going to go, instead of going from, say, 3 to 5 to 4 to 6, we're actually going to go to 5 to 7 contracts. And that should be pretty straightforward. Again, reset trade allowed. We are still doing one and done. So it is still that one singular trade with the caveat of taking a reset if the initial trade was red and the reset was planned. And that's it. Now, during this time, there's going to be two other things going on. One, Pat will on occasion put on kind of a special program or course that lasts 8 weeks called Momentum. And basically, that is a smaller group of traders that he live trades with for 8 weeks. And it's not 8 weeks straight, it's 2 days each week for 8 weeks. And the purpose there is to really, again, level up. It's to really hone in on issues and work, again, any specific things you might have. But Pat, and again, this is my first time, so I believe also Pat has kind of like a specific thing that he's looking to work with those traders, like a specific aspect of trading. And that's one of the things I will be participating in starting next week. So you may see some, like you see on the thumbnails for the videos, the recap videos, I'll try and mark them as which days were momentum days versus which days weren't. And also if we deviate from the sizing. So again, it's one of those things where if he during momentum says to take a specific amount of size, well, what he says goes. So again, if it's a deviation from that, then cool. If he says take more than one trade, we're going to take more than one trade. So it may have, again, a little mix in this next phase of some stuff going on. So there is that. Another thing, and this one I'm actually going to be a little vague on because I'm not sure how much information he wants out there quite yet on this one, but we will be conducting a study of sorts. And that'll be going on for the next 90 days when it kicks off, but it will be here shortly. So that'll be another thing that's going on. That should not impact our one and done, the sizing protocol, like that flow in any way. It's going to be done in conjunction with phase 4 of one and done, as well as the momentum days. So again, if it's one of those things where you hear me reference something that's like, what are you talking about? And it's related to one of those things, well, it could be that. But again, I'm keeping that one pretty close to the chest because I'm not entirely sure how much information he wants out there on that one. So that may not be for public consumption yet. Beyond that, that's what I'm thinking for phase 4, which is going to actually start tomorrow. The 10th of April will be the first session of that one. But all in all, looking forward to it. It's one of those things where things that I think are really starting to come together. And then with momentum starting next week, as well as the study kicking off here in the near future, there's a lot of good stuff coming up over the next few weeks, couple months, 3 months kind of thing. So we're looking forward to it. I know it's going to, again, be a little departure from just the straight one and done kind of recaps potentially. But yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. And I'm really curious to see how it all goes. But hopefully found something useful out of this one. But But yeah, this is kind of where things stand and where we're going. And that's more or less all I have. So we will see you tomorrow for the next recap and the first session of phase 4 of One and Done. Hope you all have a good day, and we'll catch you later. Peace.